In the last part of the lecture, I'm going to finish the consequence of climate change and how we address the climate change. So the rising sea level, this is a positive feedback loop of global warming, okay? When the water increasing temperature expands and take up more space, and the higher temperature are causing the melting of the snow and the ice, which adds more water to the ocean. You can see this is positive feedback loop. So it gets things worse and worse, like a beetle effects. And some of the country and the coastal area will suffer really bad. By this end of the century, this country, which is laying very low in the ocean, Maldives, they will disappear. And I like this conference. They have this underwater conference. I don't know how their pens can write in the water, but they want to emphasize the importance of addressing climate change. If we can slow it down, we probably have a better future. And this is for real. And for United States, and a lot of area will be flooded. So if all the ice in the polar regions melted, okay, all these areas will be flooded. This is the light brown at the 6-meter mark, and the deep red is the 17-meter sea level rise. So all these areas, that won't be Houston. I guess Houston will be underwater too. So health effects, except besides heat waves, heat also affects air pollution and make it worse, right? You know, the smog forming favors the warm temperature and the sunshine. And also the tropical diseases could migrate to former temperate area. And this year, Harris County experiencing the significant increase of mosquitoes. If you go outside, you might have idea like what's happening now. The mosquitoes are crazy. And also other diseases, the Lyme disease, the ticks, the mosquito carrier disease, they're all getting worse in the warmer climate. And also the climate strongly affects crop yields. Okay, the severe weather certainly caused crop damage, and also increase the irrigation demands. And the insects and the pests, they will become more active in a warmer climate. How do we address this huge problem? We have to address this problem on all the levels. We have to address from the government level, business, corporation level. We also have to address from individual levels. The first counteraction I want to mention is improving energy efficiency. It has it's like a win-win. Okay, it has a double impact of reducing carbon dioxide release and conserving the shrinking supply of energy resources. One way to stimulate is place a tax on the amount of carbon individuals and corporations, and the greater energy efficiency could lead to reduced air pollution. So energy preservation is a good method. We all save energy, like save the water, right? And reduce carbon dioxide emissions becomes more and more important. No matter you admit it or not, no matter what the government do, we all have to reduce our carbon dioxide emissions. And we have to realize the problem of deforestation. Okay, and we got to save the forest and make smarter choices how to manage the forest. And the last thing is use smart energy. The smart energy will be renewable energy. And some countries already achieved that, which is German is a very good example. In my face-to-face settings, every year I ask students to study how Germans use the renewable energy. They have very aggressive goals. They are not bigger than Texas. The whole country is not bigger than Texas, but they achieve very ambitious goals. So if you're determined to do it, you can do it. On the international level, more than 100 countries joined together to strive for a better planet. They address the climate change by making those international agreements, the Montreal Protocol of 1987, that is to phasing out the CFC. And in 1997, the Kyoto Protocol, that is an international agreement on greenhouse gases emission reduction. And the Paris Agreement is to control the global temperature. And the Kigali Agreement is to phase out the HFC. So we are not done yet. We still, as a planet, many countries, about 200 countries, we all join together to fight the climate change. And I don't need to explain this too much, the climate change effects on the ecosystem. For example, for the polar bear, they rely on ice, right? Their hunting habits rely on ice. They hunt the seals because there's ice. When the seals pop up and breathe, and the polar bear catch them. And because of the ice melted, the seals swim even further into the ocean. The polar bear lost their habitat and lost their food source. So they are put on the endangered list because of the melting of the ice. That's one example. And increasing of the acidity of the ocean prohibit a lot of organisms to mature, especially crustaceans with the shells, right? In the more acidic water, they cannot form hard shells. And that affects the ocean food chain and the food web. These just the two examples, but there's many, many things going on this planet, either on land or in the ocean, affected by the climate change, which is caused by human. We cannot deny that with a large body of scientific knowledge and evidence. So what about the future? Let's see this positive feedback, okay? Vanishing Arctic ice. When the temperature rises, more ice melt, and the temperature goes up, and the less there's more surface to absorb the heat. So that causes the melting of the ice even worse. And the warm oceans, there's more carbon dioxide dissolved in the water, and the pH decrease, and the warm ocean add more water vapor to the atmosphere. So this is all the positive feedback loop. Let's see the warming wetland peat. Peat is a mixture of the decay plants before they bury it and convert to coal. So peat is this mushy mixture of the decayed plants, okay? So in the wetland, when temperature increase, because the peat is warming and the bogs release more methane and more heat absorbed by the atmosphere. And the same for the melting permafrost. When it's melted, release more greenhouse gases and temperature increase more. So we can see if we don't stop it, this is a vicious cycle that is accelerating. So it's getting more and more warmer. So we got to stop it. So how can human behaviors be modeled? It's very complicated. And the modelers run the simulations for different scenarios. And hopefully we go to this trend and not to that trend. This is a self-destruction. And what can we do? We can save the energy. Save your bill, right? And also reduce driving and reduce the carbon emissions and use more energy efficient cars. Even the mileage prove a little bit, it prove on the long run on the carbon emissions of the car. So if you have a very old car model or you have an inefficient car model, switch to more energy efficient model. And reduce the energy. In hot days, if we tune of the thermostat a few degrees higher, or in the cold days, we tune down the temperature a little bit, that will save 15% to 25% of the energy we use. for summer or winter. So consider LED light bulbs. I like you to study the LED light bulbs, right? They are very energy efficient, and try to switch all the traditional kind of licensed light bulb to LED. And we need to make smart decisions of using energy. And even the food choices affect that. And the business and the universities, they're using social media to drive the change, so join them. I think this is concluding my whole lecture.